Hello all, welcome to Up The Poshcast, the Poshcast made by the fans for the fans. Grab yourself a drink, put your feet up and listen in. And by the way, there could be some strong language.
Welcome back, Posh fans. Peterborough United drew 1-1 at home with Bolton Wanderers, with neither side having anything left to play for this season. It was a game that I think we were all expecting, really. I will throw it straight to Ashley, but actually before I do, tonight we have Ashley, Dell, Lodz, Charlie and myself, Harry. But yeah, Ashley, please give us your summary of the game.
Do you know what? There really isn't much to summarise, is there? I think that making comments of that the players are on the beach and that the season's already over, this is exactly what I wanted to avoid, because you rock up today and it just felt like there was nothing, was there? It would have been nice to have got a win in the last home game of the season for all of those fans that don't travel away, but it just wasn't to be. Mansfield obviously missing a penalty was disappointing, as that's now his second, third, potentially, if you want to look at it that way, that he's missed this season. But, you know, it was nice to see some of the players that are going to make up this team for next season, and possibly maybe a little bit concerning as well. But, you know, it's another point, isn't it? Fergie wants to win the next two games, hopefully for everybody that does travel to Mansfield, and Rotherham, the players can put on a bit of a show, because today was definitely not a spectacle in the slightest, was it?
Yeah, I'm with you, Ash. I think it felt very pre-season today, which, I mean, to be fair, isn't necessarily a bad thing. We've got nothing to play for, and we want to try and see which players we want to have here next season, although I'm sure Fergie's made his mind up on the vast majority of players. It wasn't the most entertaining of games. Bolton are a decent side, but you know, we were definitely in the game. Probably the better side, I'd argue, for a lot of the game. We looked dangerous in the transition again, but it was just that same issue of in the final third not being clinical enough. The final pass wasn't good enough on so many occasions. Really, really frustrating. You know, we're becoming a very 1-1 team. And I think that's just how it's gonna be for the rest of the season. Buckle in for the last two games if you want, but don't expect for it to be a roller coaster. Expect a very pleasant sort of cruise around the last bend.
You know what? I was quite satisfied with today's performance. I didn't think it was as boring as what we're making out it was to be. Obviously, the result wasn't important today, but a 1-1 draw against Bolton, I think, in most situations in the season, we would have been happy with as well. Obviously, it was all about our B team, essentially, seeing what they could do. And I felt like they played the right kind of football that we want to see. I didn't feel like we were being dominated at all. I felt like, if anything, we probably played better than Bolton. We certainly created a lot of chances, which is something that we haven't done for the majority of this season. And I know Bolton, they didn't have their strongest team out there either, but I think for the players that we had out there, I think we played quite well. We obviously will talk about the players. There was some that I was really interested to see, because I've not seen a lot of them this season. Some that were good, some that were bad. And I think I'm going to start with the worst player out there, which was George Nevett. I think everyone's in agreement that he had an absolute horrid performance today. And I feel two emotions with George Nevett. I feel disappointed, first of all. And I think that's because, you know, he came in as a youngster. I think he was 17 when we signed him. We just let go of Ronnie. And I think there was a lot of us that felt like George Nevett was going to be the one that sort of took over from Ronnie in that ball-playing centre-back role. And we were going to develop him in a similar sort of style. And for those of us that were at Spalding away, obviously we saw that performance and we thought, wow, we've really got something here. So it's disappointing from that point of view. But I also feel quite sorry for him, because actually, apart from Dara's hype, which he normally does with every transfer anyway, there is absolutely nothing to say that George Nevett was ever going to be that kind of player, really, is there? He's 17. Obviously, that's quite young for someone to transition into men's football like he has. But he was I think his only his second season in senior football. And I think if you're throwing him in the deep end like that, and I think we were expecting him to play a lot more minutes than he has this season, I think that's probably a bit unfair from us to have those expectations. And I felt today was a good example of that, where he hasn't played a lot recently. I think the majority of the minutes he's got this season have been in the first half of the season. And he was clearly very, very rusty in this game. I think he is one for the future. And I know we've got a retained list episode to come out soon, but he needs to get minutes. He needs to get minutes consistently. And I don't think it should be with us right now. I don't think he's going to develop in the same way that Ronnie has, but he is showing a lot of potential and a lot of professionalism as well. I mean, he's not on social media. I know there was the whole thing when he joined the club. He wanted to live by himself, which is always a good sign that he doesn't want to muck around or be influenced by maybe some of the bigger personalities in the squad. So yeah, I felt sorry more than anything for George Nevett, but I am keen to see how he develops over the next couple of years.
Lodz, I actually think that you've got that totally wrong on Nevett. I can't remember the last Peterborough United signing that was hyped by Fabrizio Romano. There are expectations, and he clearly is a very good footballer. But you know, today it looked like he had an absolute trampoline touch. His passing was wayward, and you know they're basics, aren't they? Like there's lots of things that you would expect ring rust to apply for, but I do not see where the developments come from the last sort of 3 months, maybe since we last saw him. When was it? The Barnsley game, I think it was probably. He's allegedly put on 7 pounds of muscle. I'm interested to know where that was. He looks like he runs with a parachute attached to his back. You know, I cannot see how George Nevett can start and be a starter for next season. And you're right, he was really good at Spalding. He was really good in Spain against Wimbledon, but he was playing against sloggers. And unfortunately, if he comes up with anybody that's got a remote inch of speed or physicality, he struggled. There was a time in the second half where he let the ball bounce and then it bounced over his head, and he was fortunate that the ref gave a free kick for the slightest of touches. And then there were 2 passes that Mills played that it literally looked like he was running through treacle to try and stop them going out for corners. And I'm pretty sure on both occasions they went. And look, we've been harsh. He is a young lad. I hope he comes good, but I can't see him getting any faster. I can't see him getting that much bigger. And if that's what he needs to develop on, then I think that we may be having a cause for concern for potentially needing to sign more centre-backs than actually we maybe thought that we did.
That's right. I'm with you on that. I'm not giving up on him yet because he is only young. He's hardly had any opportunities. I don't watch the under 21s or the 18s to see how he's performing in that, etc. But I don't know. I'd like to keep him, obviously, seeing what happens with next year, see where it goes. But whilst we're talking about the defence, I think it's pretty clear that Hughes needs to be a signing for next season. Since he's come in, he's got to be one of the most consistent players that we've had, in my opinion. I'm not too sure that he's ever going to be that ball-playing centre-back that we had with someone like, what's his name? Who is it? Just won QPR Player of the Year, young player. Fucking Edwards, Ronnie Edwards. I don't think he's going to be that sort of player. But I think something I noticed today about Hughes is we went 1-0 up, and his first thing he's done is not celebrated the goal, but he's turned around and he's gone up to Will Blackmore, who's playing his first game, and he's like, right, now this is where you need to concentrate. You know, keep it calm, keep it simple. You know, and I just thought little things like that is like fucking fair play. Which then moves me really nice onto Blackmore. When it was announced that Blackmore was getting the last 3 games of the season, I was like, oh, what's the fucking point? You know, the lad's, you know, nice enough lad. He's been here 3-4 years, however many it is, or 5, 6. I don't even know. And he's not really been given an opportunity. Like, what's the point of letting him have, what's the point of getting him run out? Fucking hell, I thought he was superb today. You know, his control, his awareness of the players. He had a nice little sort of dink over to, I can't remember, it was on the right-hand side when he was under a little bit of pressure. He looked calm and composed. And I've got to be honest, it is probably one of the better performances from a goalkeeper I've seen all season. So no, fair play to him on that. But I didn't understand why his third choice. But then on the flip side, I don't understand why he's playing these 3 games. So, you know, it's quite clear that there's going to be one of the 3 is going to be going end of this season.
Yeah, Blackmore is an interesting one, isn't he? Because he's always seemed like this character, and I get that he's had a tough couple of years. I think he's had some injuries. Obviously, his dad passed away recently as well, so that's been difficult for him. But he's always been that one that's always just like been there and not really got himself involved. He travels with the team. He's the third goalkeeper, but he's never really had a chance, has he? And that's always concerned me when we've watched both Bilo and Jed have relatively poor performances throughout the season, that he's not managed to get a chance. He's not gone out on loan like Fergie's mentioned, because obviously we've either had injuries or things like that. And then, he's coming today, and actually he was really good. He's made 3 saves, I would say, probably, that he would expect to make, and that you think, look, that's what I want my goalkeeper to do. He can kick the ball a bloody long way as well when he's on the floor, and that will be something that I think potentially, if he is a goalkeeper that we use, that we may look to utilize further, because his opportunities have been limited, but it's nice to see that he's got the game today. He's taken a chance, I think, and there's no reason why he should be, taken out of the team. But obviously, Fergie said he is playing the last 2 games. But, his biggest save today was stopping Joel Randall scoring, wasn't it? That would have been, obviously, he took dog's abuse from all 3 sides that Posh fans were in. So what a disaster that would have been if Joel Randall scored. And, I think that Blackmore, I'm happy for him, because he does seem like a genuinely nice guy. Like, obviously, we saw him at the awards ceremony on Tuesday night, and that was another thing. It was just really nice to see all the players comfortable and in a relaxed environment, rather than sort of propped up with all their media training. Yes, they'd had a few drinks, but it was nice to see them. And then, like Del said, we're going to move further forwards. I was impressed with O'Brien Brady today, in that he seemed to want to take the ball and he wanted to carry the ball as well. And he seems to have quite a good relationship with de Havilland as well, which, is good, because, again, they could be 2 of our centre midfielders next season. And I don't think that they were fantastic, like set the world alight performances, but they also weren't crap, which, again, when lots of this team today is probably suffering from the ring rust, it was nice that O'Brien Brady and de Havilland both managed to step in as easily as they did.
Honestly, Ashley, I've got contrasting views on the 2 from today, although my view on them isn't just formed by today's game. My stock in O'Brien Brady remains pretty high, and my stock in Ryan de Havilland remains pretty muted. I think that with de Havilland, the same deficiencies are there regardless of the quality of the opposition. One thing we haven't touched on yet, Bolton today had 7 fit first teamers. Like, the numbers on the back of the shirts of 56 and 57 coming on, you might think it was because it was the last couple of games of the season and they're just throwing youth academy players out there. They don't have a choice. They are so injury ravaged, and they had a red card for their right back as well going into this game. And even in that context, Ryan de Havilland, who's now, had multiple years at the club, is not really able to pick them apart. He's definitely nowhere near the standard that Collins or Cipriani are. I don't like that his instinct is pretty much always, when under pressure, to pass backwards. So the fact that he's under pressure usually means that there's space to be found with either a touch or an incisive pass forward. That will never, ever be his choice. It will always be backwards or maybe sideways if you're lucky. It's not to say he doesn't have forward passes, but they'll almost always come when there's no pressure on him. And the other thing is in my opinion, his lack of positioning when it comes to the off-the-ball stuff. He sits too deep. And there were moments where Bolton, as they were trying to drive through midfield, could have really done with more pressure on them. Donne, I thought, was a lot more impressive in that front. De Havilland was not on his man really ever. And we saw times where they cut inside because de Havilland was a pace or a yard off where he should have been. And that lack of instinct in terms of his positioning defensively, I think, is a problem. On Donne O'Brien Brady, however, I think the deficiencies are fairly minimal and fixable. He is inconsistent with his touch. We've all seen those moments where he tries to trap it and it bounces out of his feet and they go back to the earliest example I can remember was the Oxford League Cup game back in August, where I'm pretty sure it led to a goal in the end. His touch is actually pretty damn good, like 85% of the time, but that needs to become 95% plus if he's going to be a consistent League One promotion chasing midfielder. But I do believe he potentially has that. And one thing I'm glad to have seen since he was last on the field for us that I can recall, he might have made the odd appearance since this game, but the Everton game, he got to the edge of the box repeatedly with no real clear idea of what to do at that point, whether to pass or pass outside, cross in, try and run with it himself. Today, so much more decisive on the edge of the box. Not that everything worked, but I love to see the fact that it seems to be an area that he actually had focused on, was what to do in the final third. So yeah, I'm, it might be a little bit of a giveaway to where I'm going with my retained list, but yeah, that's what I'm going to say on the two of them. A little bit different assessment from me on each of them.
You know what? I actually really like both of the players that you spoke about there, Harry. I think while they both do have deficiencies in their game, I actually think both of their deficiencies are fixable. And one thing I really like today is that they tried different things in midfield today. They took up some really interesting and creative positions. Neither of them were scared to go really narrow, drop really deep, but then also there were times where they were sort of going out really wide and giving Mills and Johnson options down the line as well. And I really like that. I think Donny O'Brien-Brady's ceiling is probably higher than de Havilland. I don't want to give away the retain list, but I think he probably could use some consistent football, Donny O'Brien-Brady. But other than that, I think he's a very good player. I don't know why there were rumours. I think BBC Radio Cambridgeshire were saying that his attitude's bad, or that his attitude has contributed to him not playing. Dara very firmly denied those rumours on his podcast, and I think that does sound out of character, because you say all the time about how much Fergie loves Donny O'Brien-Brady's temperament and loves his attitude. And also, you remember that interview that he did when he first joined the club, where he came across really, really well to a lot of fans. I think he looks like a hard worker. He doesn't look like the kind of guy that's going to be problematic in the changing room. And I think his ceiling's very high. I know John's not a fan of Donny O'Brien-Brady, so I'd love to have him on tonight to sort of pick his brain about what he thought of his performance today. But I think he was really good. Obviously, his turn for the first goal to set Malik through was unbelievable. Such a nice piece of skill. Remember, he was a number 10 before this season as well. We can't forget that he's been retrained into an almost entirely new position. I honestly think he would be a very solid option for any League Two club next season to have a look at loaning a player in, or even clubs at the top of the National League maybe for the first half of the season. He's a very, very decent football player now, and I think he could be a very good one in the future. And then just quickly on to Havilland, I actually think he was really industrious in the midfield today. He's a real trier, and I don't mind actually having a player like that in the team. It feels like, Del joked about him playing right back earlier, or no, didn't joke about it, but he said he could play right back earlier in the season, and we made it into a joke. But I honestly do think he's one of those players where that he could do a job in quite a few positions. Like, I honestly don't think he would be terrible at fullback if he needed to play there, because he's just a really hard worker. I think he understands the game quite well tactically. I don't think he's as brave as he could be in possession, but he's shown that he has moments of quality in his locker. He scored a cracking goal in the trophy. Can't remember who against now, and he's also shown that he's good on a set piece at Barnet, and he nearly scored a fantastic free kick away at Lincoln. So I actually think de Havilland's a very decent option in the midfield. And if both of them are here next season, I think they both deserve to be honest. And another player I want to touch on quickly, I'm sure there'll be a lot of debate about, or not debate, but talk about him tonight, is Chris Clark. I think he was really good today. Probably is one of his better performances starting in a Peterborough United shirt. He picked up some really nice spaces. He looked a lot fitter than he has it in weeks gone by and in performances gone by. He was playing some really nice 1-2s, picking up some really nice spaces. Yeah, I was impressed with his performance today. And Dara said he'll be like a new signing next season. And if he can just lose some of the fitness issues that he's had this season and maybe look a bit slimmer and more sort of ready to play every week, I think Chris Clark could be a fantastic option for us next season.
I agree that he could be. He's got to step up in a few areas, though, in my opinion. I think it's quite an interesting game to have Randall on one side and CCC on the other, because you've got two opposite parts of the puzzle, where you've got Randall, who is so unbelievably lightweight and isn't willing to challenge for anything and is totally afraid to get stuck in, contrasted with CCC, who will chase anything like a rabid dog. But you've got that finesse and ability to pick out a pass and the vision with Randall, albeit inconsistently. Where with Chris Clark, there are a couple of moments, but I'm sure he has more in his locker, because I've seen moments where he's been very intelligent with the ball, but I've not seen a 90-minute performance from him all season. And I hope he takes the conditioning seriously in the off season, but then also thinks about how he's going to be able to work with the space that he's given at a League One level compared to the conference going into next year.
Look, I don't want to glaze Joel Randall too much like you I've just done there, Harry, but he's a very much a team player, isn't he? And I think that that's probably where the difference is with Clark, is that last season at Altrincham, he could do it all himself. He was clearly a better standard than that level, and better than the rest of the Altrincham players, and better than, the National League. He's not quite managed to get himself out of that, I'm going to do it all myself, and sort of grown into, right, well, actually, this is a team game. And yes, he is going to be a fantastic footballer, I'm sure, but he needs to start passing to his teammates more, because he does have that individual brilliance, but he can't do it repeatedly, because there were times today where he carried the ball forwards. He broke through the line of defence and was played through, and he looked like he had a bit about him, but it's about doing it consistently enough, but also making the right decisions at the same time for me. So, fingers crossed for next season. And like you say, Harry, fingers crossed that he can have a good off-season, a productive off-season, shift a little bit more of the potential timber that he's got, and just solidify himself as what is hopefully going to be a good League One footballer.
So I just want to pick up on Chris Clark. That was done on purpose, because I met him the other day at the players thing. He squared up to me because I got his fucking name right. Can you believe that? But anyway, so today, I think with him, you could see that there's something about him, but what you need to do is get some longer fucking studs, because the amount of time that it felt like he was on the floor where he kept fucking belly dancing, slipping over, whatever, there's no doubt the ball could stick to your feet, go through the gaps, and create those chances, which is great to see. I think today, though, Ash, I think it happened a lot more that the opening was there for him, which he actually done more than he probably has done in previous games. So, I don't know. Is there something that he can work on for next season? Could he be that sort of like new number 10 or whatever position it is? Because quite clearly he's got to fight Malik for that number 10 position. But then again, Malik had a good game today where he was playing. So, yeah, let's see where he goes. But what I have, it's always different. Now, you see players on the pitch and you see one side of him, but then when you meet him, you also get a different feel for him. What I feel with Chris Clark after meeting him is that he's got that bite in his belly. Do you know what I mean? He wants to succeed. He wants to be the best, and he's come down to sort of have the right attitude of succeeding at Peterborough United. So, no, fair play. Take me out off, and let's see what happens for you next season.
Yeah, I didn't want to mention things that happened at the awards night, because we all agreed that what happens on awards night stays on awards night. But since you've mentioned meeting Chris Clark now, I will just bring up I think he's taken a knock of confidence this season, which is kind of expected. Like Ashley said, he was the main man at Altrincham. He's come off. I think he was player of the season in that division. He's got a big move up to a League One team that should be pushing for promotion. It will be a knock of confidence, him not being the main man anymore. But it has really affected him. I think when you take that kind of player, you want them to be as confident as possible. You want them to be a bit arrogant in the way they play. And if he's lost that, he needs to find it back again, because I don't want to. We spoke about this at the beginning of the season. I don't want the sort of the chaos to be coached out of him, because that's what makes him him. Another player I want to talk about with confidence is Malik Mothersill, who I feel like I have to bring up every single week. A difficult one to rate for today's game. He obviously won 2 penalties and scored 1, which is great. I think his general play in terms of passing in the number 10 position when he's cut inside is great again. He works hard getting back, again, exactly what he has been doing the last few weeks. But then also he missed a penalty, and he missed a very, 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 very bad chance towards the end of the game. I think we all need to get behind Malik. I think we can all see that he's got the ability. And I think this arrogant persona that he portrays isn't his actual personality. I think deep down, he might be suffering from a little bit of confidence as well. You could see his reaction when he missed that chance at the end. You could see that really hurt him. And going from being potentially Jonson Clarke-Harris's replacement, which I think is what we signed him for, to then being chucked out on the wing and into the 10 position. His finishing obviously is something that he needs to work on big time. And he could be a massive player for us next season. We're losing Ricky. It looks like we're losing Brad as well now. Malik Mothersill could be the starting striker for us next season if he works on his finishing. And I don't think he's going to get that confidence back unless all the fans get behind him. And right now it feels like his arrogant persona is putting a lot of fans off. And what they need to, people always say about Marcus Maddison being exactly the same, but Marcus Maddison was so unprofessional as a footballer. Malik Mothersill is not that player. Malik Mothersill is a professional. He trains hard. He works hard. You saw him today. The player squared up to him for a fight and he walked away. Most players wouldn't be able to do that, especially of his age. I think we really just need to get behind him, get his confidence back, make him feel a bit loved at the club, and then watch him score 25 to 30 goals next season.
Yeah, I think that you're right. And actually, we discussed this after Barnsley, is that, Mothersill's taken the 1 in 3 chances that he's had today. I'm sure that he'll be massively disappointed not to have made that 3 in 3, but that's where the inconsistency comes, isn't it? Is that he has the chance to put the ball in the back of the net from another penalty and it gets saved. I think that the fact that he was happy to keep going and keep plucking away, that does, like you say, Lodz, say something about his character, and that he's so happy to constantly fail to make himself better. And he was clearly going to be the man of the match if he hadn't missed that penalty, but he did. And then all of a sudden it goes all the way to the back of the pitch, doesn't it? And into the defence. So I think that he'll be disappointed that he didn't take his chance. But, we've watched Ricky miss many a chance. And unfortunately, again, today, we've missed Gustav miss another sitter. And we discussed it on Monday. He's making the runs, but he's not getting the chances. And that now, the only 2 things that I can remember of Gustav so far is that he missed the chance at Bristol Rovers and he's missed a chance against Bolton today. And that's the long-lasting feeling. And like I say, look, we've watched Mothersill miss sitters this season. I think back to Wickham away. Mothersill's missed one today. We've watched Ricky for years miss absolute dollies. I just hope that we get to a point with Gustav where he's getting 3 or 4 chances a game, because I'm confident that if he does get 3 or 4 chances in a game, he puts one of them in the back of the net. But until we get to that stage, how can we say that all of this money that we've spent is a worthwhile investment when at the moment we've got 2 goals against, I think it was Walsall in the Virtue Trophy? It's not looking great for Gustav at the moment. And yeah, again, he's another one like Nevett that I've got concerns of over the next season.
Yeah, I actually do quite like the prospect of Gustav. Maybe it's just the idea of Gustav that I'm into. It might just be that, a cool Swedish striker that cost us $500,000 coming in. He looks very cultured and very sort of European, and maybe that just sort of excites me as something new for us as Posh fans. But what I would say is the club are peddling very heavily Gustav, especially for next season, saying that, you know, the runs he makes are Premier League quality and that we just need to, you know, find his runs. But unless we're planning on signing some Premier League quality attacking midfielders in the summer, which I think is unlikely, at what point do we have to say he just needs to start doing the simple things well? Because there's no point in him making these world-class runs if we don't have the players with the capability in other areas of the pitch to find them. I mean, maybe a pre-season will help this, but I'm really not sure. I think he's finished some very, very... he's failed to finish in very simple chances. I mean, I remember some good stuff from him. He's had a couple of good runs. I thought he was decent when he came on against Everton in the Cup. He had a very nice piece of skill that led to a goal at Lincoln away, which was a horrific day. It was probably the only good moment from that day. And he's had some decent moments, Gustav. But yeah, I think if what we're saying is he's a fantastic player, he makes Premier League level runs and we just need to find them. Well, I'm concerned that what if we never have the players to be able to do that because we just simply don't have a Premier League quality midfielders with Premier League quality vision. I mean, maybe if Joel Randall was still here, he would have absolutely loved playing to Gustav. I know Harry probably thought that with Joel Randall's Premier League vision, but I couldn't see Chris Clark ever finding one of his runs today. I couldn't see de Havilland especially. There was a couple of times where he was driving forward and Gustav was absolutely screaming for it. And then de Havilland was sort of looking at it being like, I don't actually know where you want me to play this. Like, we're not on that kind of wavelength. Maybe he'll get on that wavelength in the summer. But yeah, I'm a bit concerned about Gustav. One thing I would say, though, is, and this may just be sort of the immature, this may be an immature point of view, but I think he should have taken the penalty today. Malik Mothersill is our penalty taker, yes, but he missed 2 penalties at Wrexham. You know, he's scored a great penalty at Wickham, fair enough, but he's not been fantastic with penalties recently. He's a good penalty taker, but if we're trying to get some confidence into a striker, what do you do to do that? And you try and get them scoring goals. I saw Gustav holding the ball before the penalty, and I was thinking, oh, actually, I really like this. I like that letting Gustav take this. And then he didn't end up taking it. And it's like, I know why Malik took it, and I know we shouldn't change. You know, we're not a one-man band. I get that completely, but I don't know. I think when you've got a striker who realistically is only going to gain confidence by scoring goals, when we have a game where we have 2 penalties, giving him one of them may have been, I know we didn't know we were going to get the second one, but giving him the penalty may have been the key to sort of making him feel a bit more confidence. I mean, I know it would have crushed him if he missed it. I know that's the other side of it, but I don't know. I think it could have helped him.
Charlie, no striker wants to be a charity case. Nobody wants the people on the pitch to feel sorry for them. And Gustav probably didn't want to take the penalty through, like you say, the fear of missing it and blazing it over the bar or the goalkeeper. I think that Malik Mothersill as our penalty taker, when he's not on the pitch, then Ricky takes them. And if neither of them are on the pitch, then, you know, they can toss that one up between them, can't they? But it should absolutely never have been Gustav to take that penalty. I'm sure of it.
Just moving on then, I'm with Ash there. You know, if you're a penalty taker, you're a penalty taker. You know, how many players have actually scored 2, 3, 4, well, not 4, but they've scored 2, 3 penalties in a game. So it is what it is. Yeah, hindsight's a lovely thing. He could have put it the other way, but if he'd gone in, everyone would have been loving it. But anyway, we'll move on from them. I think also, let's move on from a couple of the other players, both Poku and Ricky J. Jones. Definitely clear to see when they come on the class of difference. Now, obviously, I'm not Ricky's biggest fan, as everybody knows, but you know the space that he was creating, he was fucking ripping that left back. Was he left back, right back, a new arsehole. He was fucking beating him every single time he got the ball. You know, and yeah, I keep criticising him because he can't finish his dinner, whatever. But you know, he has got something about him to beat the winger every time. So that was that, and also seeing Poku coming on. Fucking hell, he is different class. He is different class, no doubt about him. You know, those are big shoes that we need to fill next season. And if it's someone like Odo that needs to fill him, then well, he needs to be getting better quite quickly, or whoever it may be, because it's going to be a big miss. But you know, unless anybody else wants to talk about any of the other players, I'd like to move on to a couple of non-players.
So yes, as Dell slightly prefaced there, Darren Ferguson has confirmed on BBC Radio Cambridgeshire today that Brad Ihionvien will not be part of the Peterborough United team going into next season. He was signed as a fourth choice striker, had flashes of, I would go as far as to say, brilliance. The most obvious notable one being the Wrexham away equaliser in the Virtue Trophy semi-final. And yeah, I mean, it sounds like it could be some off-field stuff that's contributed to this position. Charlie, I'll come to you. What are your thoughts on this? And also, I'm interested to know if you think that there's any possibility back for Brad, because those of us who've been fans of the club for 15 plus years know full well that there have been players who've been told they have no further future at the club, who have then come back into the fold, whether that be Gabby Zakuani after the nightclub incident, or Nathan Mendez-Lang, who was told that he was getting released, only to then come off the transfer list like 6 weeks later and ended up playing the rest of that entire season. Anyway, Chaz, I'll go to you.
Yeah, I think well that's an interesting question. I think first of all on Brad, it's sad news. It's hard not to like Brad, really. He's a very nice lad. I had a chance to speak to him after I can't remember. I think it was the Cobblers game actually when we got battered, and he was outside the ground and he was talking to fans for quite some time, and he came across really, really well. Really well. I really like him. You know, I like the way he interacts with our fans when he's playing, the way he sort of like amps up the crowd, and I like the way he is a bit of a shithouse as well to opposition fans. And I'm going to miss that element of Brad. And I really do think he's going to go down as one of those sort of streets won't forget Posh players. You know, that goal that he scored after coming off the bench away at Gillingham was just an absolute belter and was a great moment, actually, a really nice moment. And then obviously that Wrexham goal is one that I'm sure Posh fans will remember for decades and decades as just an amazing moment, really. Probably the moment of the season. So it's going to be sad to see Brad go. And I actually would have kept him. I think he offers something very different to what we've got. I don't think he was ever going to be a starting striker for us. I don't think he's got the right profile for that. He's not sort of a runner in behind as much as he is a player who's going to hold the ball up and come and get it deep and then take it on runs and be a bit of a physical bully. But I think we might have missed that at times this season. I think we might miss that at times next season when we're playing in very physical games and we want someone to come in and see it out, or we go down to 10 men and we need someone who's going to make the ball stick, or we just want to play a bit more defensive. He might have been a good option, but it does sound like it's off the field things that have held him back. I think in terms of, is there a route back for Brad? I know you asked Harry. Listen, I wasn't there for the ones you mentioned. You know, I know Gabby Zakuani. It wasn't like he sort of went missing in the middle of a season. It was like there was an incident that led to that Gabby Zakuani situation. And I don't feel like there's been one isolated incident with Brad, at least not that we know about. It just feels like he's not popular with Fergie. His attitude's not good. I mean, it's a weird flip-flop though from Fergie, because I remember him saying in a post-match interview, and I can't remember which game it was, but he said that Brad's just one of those players that he's not good in training, he's not good in under 21 games, but he shows up in first team games. And he said that, and he said he was fine with that at the time. So I don't know what's changed there, but I don't see a route back for Bradley. I think the way that Fergie said it in his post-match interview was very blunt, very sort of assertively. It wasn't like, unfortunately, it's not worked out. It was like, Brad does not have a future here at the football club. It hasn't worked out. Drawing a line under it, he'll be gone in the summer. And that's what it really felt like to me. So I don't see a route back for Brad. I think we're losing a good character and someone who the fans really liked in Brad. But I think in terms of a footballer, he doesn't really fit the system. He was a bit of just a shiny thing that we all liked and we all really, really appreciated. But I don't think in footballing terms we're missing out on anything massively by him going, because he's not the kind of striker that Fergie wants in this system, really.
Yeah, do you know what? I think that the issue with Brad is not actually with Brad himself. It is that everybody is so desperate to be in the know and be right about something, in that you just end up in a situation where there are rumours flying around, and trying to separate fact from fiction is borderline impossible. Look, we will never know what happens in his off-field life. We will never know what happens on the training pitch. But whenever he has come onto the pitch, he has always offered us something different. And I can't argue with the fact that he has provided the moment of the season. And I do think that actually what Fergie said today is designed to be the rocket up the arse, because we signed him on a 3-year contract. Who is going to take this alleged dressing room destroyer and sign them when he's got no history? He's got no goal scoring history as such. He wasn't fantastic at Colchester. We took a punt on him because we wanted to add somebody into our locker. Unfortunately, it appears like he's not knuckled down. I hope that Fergie's words today in his interview could be the rocket up his arse that he needs, and that he then gets the opportunity to come back in pre-season. He spends the next 2 months focusing on himself and getting his head right, so that when he does come back, he shows Fergie, right, actually, yes, I am a serious player. I am a serious striker. I do want to be part of this football team, because like Charlie said, he does offer us something different. And I think that there will be times next season where we need something different, because I do think it's going to be a difficult season for us. And having the Gustav style striker, it doesn't always work. And we've seen that. Like, you think back to Huddersfield, Brad was great at Huddersfield. He held the ball up. He carried it forwards by himself. I don't think that Brad's Posh career is over. At least I hope that his Posh career isn't over. I just hope that he manages to focus on himself and gets his head right, because there's clearly a football player in there. He just needs to work on it.
I also hope that his Posh career isn't over, but unfortunately I disagree with you there, Ashley. I think it absolutely is. I don't think there's a way of him coming back now. We're obviously all assuming that it's to do with his behaviour and conduct outside of football. It seems like Fergie's given him a few chances and he's obviously not taking them now, which is a shame for him. We obviously all love him as a fan base because of the way he is, not just, the whole big bad Brad thing. But just because he's a nice guy, everyone seems to have had a chat with him at some point. I know when he hasn't been playing, he's been in the terrace as well, just chatting with fans. It's a nice, refreshing thing to see from a footballer. But if you then take the football into context, then yeah, it was such a great goal that he scored at Wrexham. And I agree that with Charlie, with the whole streets won't forget kind of player, where I compared him on the group chat to Martin Samuelson, where people love Martin Samuelson and they'll remember that one goal he scored against Sheffield United away. Brad will be the same. We'll all remember how much of a nice guy Brad was. We'll all remember that goal he scored at Wrexham away. But as Fergie said in his interview, some signings don't work out. And this one clearly hasn't. It might be professionalism. It might not be. We're not going to say it in the public because we want to get rid of him. I think what will probably end up happening is we'll loan him out. We'll keep him on our books until his contract runs out. But if you think about it, do we really want to go into next season with potentially 3 strikers? We already know Gustav's one of them. And Bolu as well seems like it's going to be one of them. Do we really want Brad to be one of 3 options up front when those 2 are or do we want to get Brad off of the books and sign a striker that's potentially going to challenge Gustav a bit more in the striker position? We've already said about how he doesn't fill us with confidence as a starting number 9. If getting rid of Brad means that we're going to get someone that will challenge Gustav, I think that's probably the right footballing decision to make, regardless of his professionalism and what Fergie thinks of him.
Do you know what, Lodz? I think this is a stage where we all stand up and don't we read the Lord's Prayer? That was quite an emotional little thing. I think Charlie agrees with me there. Fucking hell. He ain't dead, He just, ain't got a future. But there's bits and pieces of what all of you have said that I agree with. Like, Ash, I'm fucking 100% with you that I don't necessarily think is the end of his Peterborough career. Fergie's done this before where he's given somebody like that, he's not playing for him anymore, la-di-da-di-da, and he's bucked his ideas up. It was a midfielder a couple of seasons ago that was he was never playing for Peterborough again, ever. And, he ended up coming back, that was it, So, never playing for Peterborough again. He had a few more games after. So I love Brad. And we've already alluded to, we all love Brad. But I hope it's not the end. And I'm hoping it's not that he's been led down the garden path by his advisors. You know, I know he's got a big following, you know, and is he trying to sort of burn the candles at both ends scenario? Do you know what I mean? Be a professional footballer, but still have the lad's life. You know, depends what you want. If you want a lad's life, then fine. You can't be a professional footballer. If you need to be a professional footballer, then you need to sort of like cut your ties at certain things and focus on being a professional footballer, because you can't have both successfully. But I hope he does whatever. I hope it does sort of work out, and I do hope that it comes good for him, because I will be proper upset if he does, if that's it for Peterborough. As far as he don't offer us anything, Charlie, I actually think he's better than Gustav. Fucking hell, you know, Gustav. You know, like today, but it didn't really offer much. I didn't see much today that I thought, yeah, I can't wait for it to be a main striker next season, if I'm totally honest. I know it was a dead game, but I don't know. It didn't fill me with confidence. My last little bit is Bolo. Is that correct? Bolo. Fucking hell, he's tiny. Do you know what I mean? He is when he come on, I thought he was a fucking ball boy coming on or something. But you know what I mean? Obviously, he's banging the goals in for under 18. I'm pretty sure he's not going to be in the reckoning for next season. I think he might play a couple of games in the Freight Rover Trophy or Virtue Trophy, whatever you call it. I'm pretty confident he can't be considered to be one of the three strikers, because we need something. We need something a little bit more than what we got there. But you know, Brad, man, come on, man, get your fucking arse in the gear, get it sorted out, whoever it is. Go and fucking buy some flowers for Fergie and make your peace, make up. Let's see where we go next season. But there we go.
I think it's Olu, not Bolo, Dan. But I agree. He is diminutive. Maybe better on the wing, possibly, if he does have this lightning pace that he's apparently has. Sad we didn't get to see it today. Did he actually even touch the ball? I'm not sure. But moving on, I think we've done the Bolton game to death. We've done the Brad situation to death. It is time to move on to the clash of the Midlands between Peterborough United and Mansfield Town. Both teams have nothing to play for, just like the match we watched today. We lost 3-0 at home to Mansfield Town on Boxing Day, where we were roundly destroyed by them in what was, I think, if I recall correctly, we gave Nevett in that game 1s and 2s across the board. It was sadly one of the worst defensive performances that I'd seen in a while. Let's hope it's a bit better. And I will come to Ashley to discuss his hopes and fears for this game.
You called it the clash of the Midlands. I'm going to call it the clash of the short-arse goalkeepers. Will Blackmore was good today. He is coming up against somebody that can only be described as the Tyrannosaurus Rex of goalkeeping in Christy Pym. I do not care about the game. I just want to watch him spill the ball into the back of the net, like when Johnson Clark Harris hit that free kick in that cup game and he just sort of like moved to one side and forgot about it. We didn't get the chance on Boxing Day because we were fucking shite. I hope that we get the chance to do that on Wednesday night and, you know, go to Mansfield and have some success, because it was my first time there last season and we lost on the penalty shootout. I'd like to go there and Fergie wants to win. I hope that we get to give Mr. Pym all of the stick that he deserves for the way that he treated our most successful manager ever.
Yeah, I hate Christy Pym, like with a passion. I don't think I've ever been more rattled at a football game than when he saved those penalties in the shootout and everyone was stood at the front of the stand sort of looking at him and he kept turning around and I just wanted to, you know, I don't know what I wanted to do, but it wasn't good. I think we'll win. I do. I think you're going to get your wish, Ashley. I'm confident that Mansfield have sort of spluttered their way to safety now. You know, they only survived today because of the results earlier to do with Bristol Rovers. So they ended up actually, considering where they were when we played them on Boxing Day, when they were flying a bit, considering they actually secured safety later than us after that, they must have had a pretty turgid end to the season. I yeah, listen, I don't think I do not think they'll be very good at all. I mean, their own managers come out and said that he doesn't think their players are good enough for the league. Like, he literally did say that in a press conference. We'll go there and win easily. And Christy Pym, apparently he was that sort of buoyed by the 2-2 draw that he went and told Fergie after the game what he thought of him. Well, I hope Fergie can tell him what he thinks of him tonight on Wednesday night, because I just cannot stand Christy Pym. I cannot wait for the Posh fans to be giving him all the abuse that he deserves on Wednesday, and I hope it's as vicious as they can muster.
I genuinely can't believe how you're fucking disrespecting our one and only Golden Glove winner for Peterborough United. Fucking hell. Name another Peterborough goalkeeper that's done that. None. Anyway, he was fucking pony, absolute dog shit. I think the highlight of the last time we went to the penalties was it Bilo that sort of fucking grabbed his water bottle and launched it into the fucking crowd. That was quite funny. And I think my lasting memory of being at Mansfield last year was I couldn't see fuck all. Absolute. I've never, honestly, disgusting. If anybody's been at Mansfield away, right, of an evening game, so what happens when you're attacking their end? When you're attacking their end, this what do you call it? The sponsorship fucking lights are that bright. You need like ultraviolet glasses. You can't see. It's like welding glasses you need to put on your head because it is so blinding. And then when they swap halves, it also calms down. So it's all light, very a lot less bright, and so they can score and whatever. It is fucking horrendous. Even the stewards were saying it's disgusting. It happens every week. But anyway, so a couple of things away from the game. I just think it'll be another sort of a game like today in the last couple of weeks, if I'm honest. I don't think it's going to be anything special. They've got nothing to play for. We've got nothing to play for. It'll be a similar sort of lineup to what we've had today. Obviously, we know some of the players that will be playing. So just one of those pretty much end of season games. So, hopefully I can make it. If I do, excellent. If not, then I'll have to be watching on the UPN. Is it UPN? I don't even know. So, yeah, it's another game. Mansfield away, Wednesday night. Fucking hell. Not many more to go.
I don't think any of us have spoken about what players we want to see playing, have we? I know there isn't really much to choose from. I think Manny's back. Would I want to see him ahead of Nevett? Probably not. I think let's just get some minutes into Nevett, and hopefully today was a one-off. I do want Hughes to carry on playing. I think there's a strong chance we sign him. I really want to sign him. I've made my decision. I think we didn't really speak much about him earlier. I think Dale mentioned him. The fans really love him, don't they? You could tell from the reaction he was getting from every challenge he was putting in. Everyone's going, Hughes. And even when he was walking around the pitch at the end doing his lap of honour, everyone was chanting his name. I think we sign him. I think he could potentially be our captain for next season. So let's get Cipriano out of the squad and the other two, Poku and Ricky, and let's just get all of these fringe players that are going to be big players for us next season in and playing. Probably the same starting 11, to be honest with you. Just those three on the bench, get them off of the bench if we can, if we've got enough players.
Well, and we will be releasing the Up The Poshcast retained list video soon. So watch out for that, plus the thread on Twitter to go through who we across the podcast, the hosts, would and wouldn't keep in the squad, plus loans, of course. But that's for another day. For now, score predictions, please, for the Mansfield Town game. I will come to Ashley first.
I'm going to go really boring. We've had 3 1-alls in a row now, and I think that there's a chance that it might be 4. So my prediction is going to be a 1-all, unfortunately, and Gustav is going to score. There you have it.
I'm going to go with, in my classic pausey fashion, as I think about what I'm actually going to go for, 4-2 Posh. Going to be a defensive disaster class from both teams. And it's going to be a lot of fun for those who are there, if they can see it.
2-2. That's all I can think of. It's just going to be shit.
I've got no idea what to go for. So I'm going to add all three of your predictions together and make that my prediction. And I think that makes it 7-5 to Posh. Yeah, I just hope that, we put in a good performance. I don't really care about the result.
Well, you've stolen my prediction, Lodz. Joking. Anyway, I think we'll win. I said that. I think we'll win 3-1. I think they'll score first, and then we'll open the floodgates on them in the second half, and Pim will be rattled in front of the Posh away end. I think we'll get 2 Pim own goals, and I'll give one to George Nevett as well.
All right, we are there. Thank you all for listening. Thank you if you are still engaged and watching. Not sure how engaged the Peterborough United players are at this stage of the season, but we will be there. We always are. Thank you. Please like and subscribe, and indeed comment on YouTube. Your thoughts about the Brad situation, about the Bolton game today. And we're on 551 subscribers on YouTube. If you're listening for the first time, become the 552nd. Thank you. Up the Poshcast.
Up the Poshcast.
Up the Poshcast.
Thank you all for listening. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Up The Poshcast. Let us know your feedback. Give us any ideas for topics you would like us to discuss or any questions you'd like us to answer. Up The Poshcast.
I hate football.
Is that what it is?